Adopted by Humans, Volume 3, Chapter 1. A great human author, much revered by history, once wrote, "I begin my story with the beginning of my life." Or something like that, anyway. Not recalling it exactly is probably why I only got a B minus on my creative writing course at the University of Louisville that year. But like that author, I suppose I should begin at the beginning. And if it was one thing that was proving true about time on Earth, it was that every day seemed to bring new beginnings. Finding out that my sister was on Earth did not bring down a shocking revelation to me. I didn't leap into her arms with heartfelt warmth, nor did she with me. This may sound strange to the humans who bought this book in droves, but the truth is, I didn't feel much about her one way or another. And why would I? I hardly knew her. I had only the vaguest recollection of there being other siblings around, and the truth is, Delameson family bonds barely existed in those days, the days of my youth. Strange as it may seem in the modern era, our lives revolved around service to the needs of Dolomius. We are tested early, soon after birth, and placed on various tracks of education and work. We have very few real choices of our own, and very few have the ability to buck the system off their backs and carve their own path. Those who show outlier tendencies are routed into paths where they will cause the least disruption, while those who are more compliant are moved in more common paths of labor or research. We don't, at least most of us, don't seem to have the same reckless, agitated nature of humans for new stimulation and experience, but some do. And of those that do, well, I did say that some of Bonnie Red's crew had mud on their fur. Criminal classes usually get routed into dangerous jobs, and nothing was more dangerous than scouting the void. Myself, I was routed down an academic path which saw me separated from my mother at an early age. Who exactly my father was, I didn't know. My mother never spoke of him. He was gone, and that was that. By the time I was old enough to ask, I was already routed into the education system that would turn me into the academic that I eventually became. And it seems my older sister ended up in a very different path, one that she did not care for, at least if I was to judge our first interaction. We left the coffee shop, and my growing curiosity compelled me to ask, as we walked together, "Where are you staying?" "In the ruins of Chicago," she answered, and I stopped in my tracks. She stopped one step past me and turned around. "What?" she asked, and flicked her reddish-brown fur back with one tossing motion of her head. "The ruins." "Ruins?" "Ruins." I had to repeat the question because it seemed so utterly absurd. "Well, yes," she answered. "There are buildings there, and a few scattered groups of humans. But isn't that, I don't know, kind of dangerous? Isn't that area quarantined and whatnot?" I was a bit aghast at the very idea that people even could live there, let alone that they would. For those of my readership who are not familiar with Earth history, the reason Louisville became Earth's capital is because it became the major transportation hub for the then dominant North American Union after the devastating war that erased a number of cities from existence in whole or in part. Chicago was one of those places, and rather than rebuild, Louisville was expanded with a new rail system and highway system in addition to its airport hub, thus making it a center of trade and travel on par with Brasilia, New Kyoto, and New London. Suffice it to say, some humans are still quite stubborn and refuse to abandon the ruined places. How they survived through the radiation, I didn't know. But when she explained where she was living, I was fairly sure that Bao did. "Maybe it's dangerous, but so what? I want to rise to the top of my field. It's my only chance anymore, and you're not going to get in my way again." She snapped at me. Her teeth probably would have been bared if hadn't been in public, but strangely enough, I wasn't bothered by her hostility, only curious about it. "You keep saying that, but what did I ever do to get in your way? I barely even remember you," I answered her, and she let out a snort. "I'll tell you that over dinner. To be honest, I'm too infuriated right now to say much more. I'm going to pick up some supplies and head back to Chicago. I'll sync my data pad to yours. Just send me the address and I'll join your family for dinner tonight. I'll explain whatever then, my sister replied, and to that I could only nod. Fine, I said, and tapped the sync option on my data pad a moment later. I'll see you then. It's probably best that I explain all this to them before introducing you. It might even give me some interesting information. I started wandering away, and if I must give a true accounting in the historical record, then the fact is she was almost forgotten in that moment. All I really had on my mind was the data I could collect and what kind of introduction or explanation I could offer. Bao, for her part, I would later learn, had a lot more in common with me than I thought. She wandered toward the hover bus stop that would take her far away from where we met, already typing up her own thoughts and cataloging what she expected to observe. If I'd known it at the time, I would have said I was proud of her for that, but I didn't. When I thought of her at all on the way home, all I thought of her was, she is a rival. All right, well, thank you for listening. This novel is now available on Amazon as an ebook, paperback, or hardback, and is listed with Kindle Unlimited. If you'd like to support my work, I have a Kickstarter going to support the completion of this series, link in the description, or you can support me on patreon.com/telling stories, where I provide advanced chapters of ongoing works, PDFs, EPUBs, and artwork to my supporters. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.